This video is sponsored by Sunflex UK. Have you ever dreamt of buying a site and building a house? Maybe you want to create your dream home or even start a side hustle in property development. In this video, I'm going to look at a site in the English Midlands, which I was asked to review a few weeks ago. At first it looked promising, but scratch the surface and there are serious issues here. If you are new to the channel, my name is Neil and I have been a self-employed architect in the UK since 2009. Alongside this YouTube channel, I also run the reallifearchitect.co.uk website, where anyone can book a consultation with me to discuss altering and extending a home or building a new house in the UK. There's a playlist at the end of this video where you can see some of these consultations. In June 2023, I was contacted by a client who was considering buying this site. I have their permission to make this video and I'm not going to name them or give away the exact location. The client wanted to build a house on this site and asked me to look at the plot objectively to check if this was feasible. You see, the site was for sale without planning permission, and at the time, the asking price was over £50,000. Any site for sale without planning permission is risky, and the client recognised this. They were considering making an offer on the site subject to planning approval. I mentioned this in other videos as something which large-scale property developers regularly do when buying land. I've never seen it used on single plots, but there's no practical reason it couldn't work, as long as the owner agreed, and that might be a long shot. I advise the client to get legal advice before going ahead with this. Both they and the owner would need to be bound by a contract. The client would have a fixed period of time to get planning approved, say 1 year, and on the day the approval is granted, the money changes hands. Contracts like this also place restrictions on the current owner, preventing them from selling the site to others or using it as collateral for a loan. Because of these complications, specialist legal advice would be necessary. And this is why offers subject to planning are seldom used on small plots. The next issue is the size of the plot. It's very small. I don't have scale drawings of the site, but I was able to get rough measurements using the cars in this Google Earth photo for reference. The site is about 13 meters long and 10 meters deep, which is tight for a single house. Just look at the neighbours' properties for comparison. This site is about half the size of any adjacent plot. I checked the local planning guidance and there is a requirement for 45 square meters of rear garden, with a minimum length of 11 meters for any new house. This can be achieved, but it will take up 1/3 of the site. Given the existing streetscape, it wouldn't be possible to build a new house right on the boundary with the street. The new house would need to be set back and have defensible space at the front. And any new house would also be required to have off-street parking. Even one car would take up a space about 5 meters deep and 2.5 meters wide, so there goes another 10% of the site. All this probably leaves only enough space for a house with 2 bedrooms, which sets an obvious limit on its value. The usual trick of building tall when land is scarce won't work here. A 2-story house would almost certainly be refused planning because it would overlook and overshadow the neighbours' rear gardens. There is one positive thing to note. The site already has an established access to the public road. This can be surprisingly difficult to achieve, particularly if a site is on a corner, near a bend in the road, or adjacent to an existing junction. At least that's one less thing to worry about. Except it gets worse. From the online sales particulars, it seems the site is part of the rear garden of this house. While reading the local planning guidance, I noticed a section on what was called garden grabbing. This is the practice of building new dwellings at the rear of existing homes. And this seems to be a hot topic in parts of England, and the guidance the planners publish states that, in short, the principle to support new housing development in private gardens has been removed. Now that doesn't mean it can't be done, it just means any proposal needs to have a very solid case for creating a new house and not contravene any other planning guidance. If this proposal is the least bit controversial, it will probably be refused. So now we have a general idea of what kind of house might stand a chance of approval by the planners, but what would it cost to build? Well, let's assume a 70 square meter 2-bed house. In my experience, the current cost of construction for a basic but competent standard of finish is about £2,750 plus VAT per square metre. This figure varies depending on local factors such as labour costs and the method of construction, but it won't vary by much. New build homes can be built at 0 VAT, so that's in the client's favour, but a 70 square metre structure would cost over £190,000 to build. That per metre rate is based on the assumption the site is flat, but this one isn't. In fact, it slopes quite a lot, and that has to be dealt with. The planners won't want a house built up off the ground so much that it dramatically overlooks or overshadows the neighbours' gardens or bedrooms, but excavating into the slope to reduce the height of a new house will come at a cost. Not only will the digging cost money, but the back of the dig will need retaining walls to prevent the neighbours' gardens from falling into the site. None of this is cheap. It will cost tens of thousands of pounds. My suspicion is that our basic two-bed house might cost almost £250,000 to build once the cost of excavation, landscaping, drainage and utilities are factored in. Add to that the £50,000 asking price and professional fees, and you have a project that will exceed £300,000. I did some research, and in the last few years, two-bed semi-detached houses sold on this street for between £220,000 and £275,000. So, all in, this project is unlikely to make any money, which is a problem, because that is exactly what my client wants to do. They were open with me and explained they want to start a side hustle in property development, which is cool, but I advised them this plot would struggle to make money even if the sale price was cut in half. It also struck me as odd that the owner was selling it without planning approval. After all, it wouldn't cost more than a few £1,000s to have someone draw up a basic design and submit it for outline planning approval. If planning were lodged and then refused, that decision would be in the public domain for all to see, and the value of the land would drop dramatically. And given the issues I outlined earlier, there is a high chance of refusal. This is a difficult site. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. The smart move for the seller would be to offer the site for sale as it is with no planning and wait to see if anyone buys it. After 6 months or a year, if no one makes a tempting offer, then take the chance on getting outline planning approval. My client's suggestion to make their offer subject to planning might work in this situation if both parties are willing to wait. My client wants to get into the property development business part-time, and the easiest way to do that is by getting planning on land and then selling it on. This is far less risky, time-consuming and expensive than actually building homes and then hoping someone will buy the end result for more than the cost of development. If you are considering buying land to build a house in the UK, you can book a consultation with me via the Real Life Architect website. I've put a link in the description. Please talk to me before you buy any land and read the terms and conditions before you book the consultation. If you are designing a new home or extending your existing house, you should also check out the sponsor of this video. Sunflex UK design and manufacture high-quality aluminium windows and doors. I specified them on several of my own projects over the years, and they offer a great balance between cost and quality. I made this video about their bifold doors, including the costs. You should check it out. I put a link up here and in the description. My name is Neil, and I've been a self-employed architect in the UK since 2009. I regularly make videos about the reality of altering and extending private homes, including videos like this one where I look at real consultations. Check out this playlist if you want to see more, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to the channel.